Hey, welcome back to Mocktails with Marina. I'm your host, Marina, and today I'm going to do a special type of episode for you. This is actually going to be the audio only of our brand new Serve, Sell, and Scale masterclass. So everything you're going to hear from this point forward is a recording of that. And if you do want to see the actual presentation, because there may be some visual things that I might mention, just go ahead and take a look at the link of the description of this episode, and I will make sure that you can go ahead and watch that. No sweat, but this way I just wanted to make sure anybody who's too busy to sit down and watch anything can listen and learn even when they're on the road. And this is, again, I'm going to leave it all to the recording to tell you what your journey is going to be about. But long story short, I'm going to teach you how to sell. If any questions or comments or anything comes up along the way, as always, please do not hesitate. Send me an email, hello@marinamars.com. So without any further ado, let's get started. Hello, and welcome to the Serve, Sell, and Scale Masterclass. This is the income generation class for kava tenders and non-alc creators. So today we're going to learn how to make real money in the non-alc industry online, behind the bar, or on your own terms, depending on where you're at. So here's the thing, you're probably already pouring, posting, connecting, so now it's time that you actually get paid for it. In this free masterclass, I'm showing you how people in the non-alc industry, whether those are kava tenders, bartenders, baristas, creators, and even beginners, that are turning their presence into real profit. So this is no fluff, just strategies, scripts, and sales income paths that actually work. So Serve, Sell, and Scale is your intro to the money side of the sober movement, and it's just the beginning. Now, there's so much we're going to be diving into, so as we go through all of the information I've prepped for you ahead of time, there's two things I want you to know. Number one, I purposely made sure that this was recorded on a platform called Loom, where you have the ability to go ahead and go as fast as you want or slow it down. So if I'm talking too fast or too slow, you can update that at any time. Now, the second thing, if you have any questions, write them down as we're going. Make sure you send me an email at the end with your notes, hello@marinamars.com, and I'm going to be able to give you some super special resources that'll help you kind of get really connected to this. So all that being said, besides keeping track of your questions, let's go ahead and dive in. And I want to mention that this is actually a web page that I created. Once we're done here, this is a page I'm going to share with you. The video is going to be right here. So what that means is all of these slides you're going to have the notes for. So again, there's nothing you need to worry about except for being present and thinking about the material as we go through all of it. So I want to start by mentioning right off the bat that there is a method that savvy servers can do to pay their entire mortgage by simply recommending the right products to the right people. If you stay tuned, I'll teach you how, we'll get to it, but first we're going to develop some context as to how you even get yourself ready for this type of income, right? Because a lot of times, a lot of us, especially if we started as bartenders, kava tenders, you're used to your under minimum wage per hour plus your tips, right? There's a lot more revenue streams you're probably not touching, so we're going to talk about a lot of that. So you probably want to learn how to monetize your bartending, your mixology, and your general beverage knowledge outside of the bar, because your body cannot be working until 3 a.m. on the weekends forever. I get it. I'm there, right? You can see the gaps in the industry and you want to do what you can to make it better, right? So you wish to reach out to local bars and restaurants. Maybe you want to help them with seasonal or staple menus, and maybe you want to get commission on the wholesale orders that they're placing, because after all, you'd be the one making the introduction in this case. So maybe also, though, you love to make content. I'm not saying you have to have all of these things, but maybe you are one of these. Maybe you love to make content, especially around non-alcoholic products, places, people, and services. Maybe you just simply love to spread the word. So you want to learn how to monetize content production, whether that's for your audience or for their stock images or videos. Or maybe you are actually a bar or bottle shop owner and you're looking to help your staff learn how to increase their sales via ticket sizes, therefore also increasing their tips, to increase job satisfaction and retention. And side note, I want to mention that just because you're an owner doesn't mean that you also can't participate in the additional revenue streams that I'm going to be bringing up today. because this is a sales conversation. Like, how do you make sales in this industry, right? And there's so many different ways we can do that, right? So I'm here to help you figure out what makes the most sense for your lifestyle and how you enjoy connecting with people, because we all have different needs in that arena. But in any case, you are absolutely in the right place if any of this resonated with you. I'm also here to tell you that it is absolutely possible to make a life-changing amount of money in the non-alc space. Like, it doesn't have to just be your hobby or like a passion project. So even if you don't have thousands of followers, even if you don't have thousands of newsletter subscribers yet, even if you've never been a business owner before, and even if you want to remain a staff member of the place that you are currently working at now, like if you're a server, right? Even if you want to do all these things, we can still make life-changing money outside of that container, right? So it's possible. But there are two approaches to get there, okay? So number one, you have to know and believe that it's possible. But number two, understand there's an easy way and a hard way, right? Okay, so the hard way, which is approach number one, full of lack of awareness, not full of anything, right? Lack of awareness, lack of clarity, lack of confidence. Every no, maybe it slows you down and makes you feel tired, makes you feel lack of motivation. It chips away at your confidence. Maybe you mistake the lack of sales for the lack of alignment, when in reality, you just don't know how to finish closing the sale, but like you were so close. Right? So maybe you were super close to actually already making that 5K additional per month, but you just didn't know how to land it. That doesn't mean it's not out of alignment. That means that there's something else you have to work for, right? But that's just maybe where you're at. Maybe you assume someone is just going to simply approach you out of the blue and ask you for your expertise with $100 bills in their hands. But that's, first off, not usually how it works. And number two, not only is that not predictable, but it's also not scalable, right? So also in this approach, it's very normal for you to potentially think that you are copying competitors' strategies, when in reality, maybe you're just doing like a false reenactment, because you're not really understanding what systems are going on behind the scenes that allow them to be successful. A lot of times people's marketing does not align with like what's going on behind the scenes, and that's done on purpose because you as a consumer are supposed to be having an experience, right? So all of that being said, the goal here with approach number 1 and 2 is going to be, like we said, to make that life-changing money, to be able to do it all with the least amount of followers, with the least amount of newsletter subscribers, even if you've never done this before. So we can do this the hard way, or we can do it the easy way, right? We don't want to do approach number 1. Here's what we want to do instead. In order to get clear and confident, every no should be able to speed you up, because it actually gives you confidence on what not to pursue, right? So it's actually giving you information. Every no is still a piece of data that is meaningful. You also recognize the difference between alignment versus tension, so you can disarm it with ease, which causes you to close sales without even trying, right? So, for example, usually when people leave sales on the table, it's because they're afraid of asking that one final question, that one push, that asking one more time, of asking someone to believe in themselves and therefore investing in you. So you can recognize that moment of, is this out of like a lack of alignment, or is it truly that they're just making up excuses to get out of this call as quickly as possible because they don't like me, right? You have to understand the difference. If you are in the second approach of being clear and confident, you also know when someone is going to approach you out of the blue. Like, you can genuinely predict it. You can genuinely scale it, because you have actually created a system that funnels people to you seemingly out of the blue. And it also takes care of them. So it captures, nurtures, and pitches to those leads automatically without you even having to be there, right? Example, you are watching me doing this right now, and I am not actively making this video, right? You watching it, you're watching a recording, because the goal is to be able to scale my time to be able to best be with our clients, right? I'm not going to spend all of our time with our leads or people who aren't inside of our ecosystem yet. I'm so sorry. I bet you are super cool. But that's not our model, right? Because we are clear and confident on where we want to spend our time. And if you are a client, you know to come inside of our containers to get 100% from us, right? It's the same thing for you going into this. And the last thing is, if you're taking approach number 2, you know that you're unique, which means that you are going to have a unique marketing strategy. You're not going to be copying people, which means it's going to take time to develop. But you are committed to making this a long-term sustainable venture that will nourish your life and not take from it. So it's worth it. But again, not going to happen in 90 days or less, right? That's like minimum viable product. It's not like your whole shebang, unless this is like, you know, your copy and paste 14th nth venture. Okay? So, I want you to ask yourself, which approach feels right? The one that feels chaotic, the one that is shut down by no's, that feels like a ghostly echo of someone else's brand? Or do you want clarity? Do you want confidence? Do you want sales to just come to you without even having to think about it, so you can just be in your element? Which approach do you want? Because either way, I'm going to be honest with you, like either way you can make money. But we don't like approach number 1 here at all. And I think that this is all very important, because I want you guys to understand, and I'm sure you already somewhat know being here, like sales, there's so many different ways of doing sales. There's so many different strategies. And there's so many ways you want to feel good about it, not only for what you're selling, but how the lifestyle then treats you in return, right? So our goal here is to get you to approach number 2 in order to make this income. So once again, hi, hello, my name is Marina. It is so nice to meet you if we haven't already met. You can learn so much more about me at marinamars.com/bio. I'm not going to spend time in this presentation doing so, because I hate when other people do that. So you can just go there and learn about my background if you're curious. But I have a lot of experience with being behind the bar, making tips, also being a manager, also being a menu creator, also being the person in the lab that ensured the stuff was safe, been chief operations officer, I've been brand director. I've done all the things in this industry, so I'm here to give you all of the tips and tricks and templates about how I would hire you. And I also have a big database I'm going to share with you. So yeah, learn more about me to understand the context, but let's go ahead and dive deep. And I want to mention that I was constantly hearing from very insanely experienced individuals who wanted to remain in the industry despite feeling like they hit their glass ceilings in terms of financial growth. I've also heard from bar and bottle shop owners who have said that their staff deserved a raise, but they felt like they couldn't afford to give it to them. The thing is, these servers, where we heard this information from, they didn't want to open their own bars or bottle shops. They're just not interested. They don't want to be their own business owner in that way. They didn't want to give up their autonomy or scheduling flexibility. They didn't want to leave their community or regulars. They didn't know what to charge for anything. They were afraid to ask for the sale. They were waiting for someone to give them expert status, as if it's some sort of certification that you get in this industry. It's not, like, side note. Some of these servers, they didn't have any tools, structure, or support. They definitely didn't want to feel gross about selling, causing resistance to the upsell, but they also didn't want to basically worth without thinking about their retirement and advancing their lives. So here's what we mean by this. They didn't want to switch career paths, because this is something that, like, if you are a server in the non-alc industry, I always say this all the time. If I could just do one thing forever and not have to worry about money, I would just be a kava tender. I would be serving behind a bar at a kava bar, because I love to be with community, I love to make drinks, I love to be active, and it's a creative job. When you're clocked out, you're clocked out. Like, there's so much about kava tending that I absolutely love, but I knew that one and only income stream could not create a legacy for my family that meant something. Like, yeah, it was great as a woman in my 20s at the time when I was doing it. It was wonderful. I was making enough money. I bought a house, all the things. But I'm married now, and we're going to have kids. Like, that's not the lifestyle or the means to an end for us. So between that and knowing that there were people who did want to stay behind the bar but wanted to make more money, we realized that we wanted to create this resource for you. And this resource is called Drink Money. So Drink Money is the solution I created to help servers, mixologists, enthusiasts, and or bar and bottle shop owners increase sales, therefore increasing tips, job retention, and job satisfaction without burnout, without crossing professional boundaries, or having to learn how to do it all the hard way, right? So, again, this Drink Money approach allowed me to break the pattern of being stuck in that first approach of chaos and moving into the second approach of clarity. So if you are ready to break the pattern of chaotically trying to figure this out and you just want to gain that momentum, let's go ahead and start by laying the right foundation. We need to talk about mistakes, common mistakes in this industry. So 2 main things I want to say here kind of go on the same side of the coin, depending on if you're an owner of a shop or if you are working at one and you're like a bartender or mixologist. If you think you need to open a brick and mortar to make real money, or you think you need to post on social media constantly to make money, basically you need to be in these spaces occupying all the time to make money, that is a mistake. Yes, there are great revenue streams there, but there are other revenue streams you can't see quite as straightforward as these. Like, you can't see the piece of content, you can't see the brick and mortar, but there's still money flowing in. Why is that? Well, let's talk about it. Contrary to popular belief, you don't need either that brick and mortar or to post, because if you want to make money in this space, you need time, right? If you think that you need to have something glued to you all the time, you're going to end up being trapped. Most people assume the only way to make it is to constantly be doing all these things, but that is the assumption that is stopping brilliant people from starting it all. But what if we told you that some of the most profitable non-alc businesses don't have a storefront and they don't have an online following that's massive, right? It'd be pretty crazy, right? I can tell you, I know off the top of my head, more than 10 people I can name right now who are all making money, who have less than 1,000 followers, but are making and taking home a salary that they are able to pay themselves of more than 5 figures per year. More. Right? And not even having a brick and mortar, not even having this after all expenses. That is a pretty rock star life, right? Daily content creation sounds good in theory, but without a clear conversion strategy, it's just going to be noise. Most founders are chasing vanity metrics while their bank accounts stay the same. So what actually works? Real sales, right? Real customers, real income. You don't need thousands of followers. You need a few dozen people who are excited to say yes to the right offer. And in this space, there are so many ways to package your skills, products, or passion into something sellable. So let's talk about the better path. It's going to be lean, profitable, and flexible. So there's multiple options, and I want to mention that there's things that stem from them, but none of these things I would say alone are going to make you rich, right? Pop-ups, wholesale accounts, sampling programs. Side note, wholesale accounts alone could actually make you bank if you're really good at connecting, and I'm happy to teach you how to do that. But also more of these product-like services, which I'll teach you about in a second, what that means. High ticket sales, digital drops. Basically, you can launch from your kitchen table with a one-page checkout and no full-time staff. And side note, a one-page checkout, I mean, you could do this for basically just paying your credit card fee. Like, you, as in under $100 a month, you could get started with a business. Legit. Like, you don't have to spend $250,000 on a brick and mortar to get started. You can if that's your goal and you want to go big and do all the things. I'm just saying that's not the point of this. You don't need a lease or a lighting ring to do any of these things. You don't need a plan to sell what you've already got in your hands. If you can learn to sell, everything else just becomes optional. Okay? Very exciting. So, that being said, it kind of leads us into mistake number 2, which is people who don't start because they feel that they're not tech savvy enough or that they don't know enough in general, so they're stuck in some sort of research mode. You don't need to be tech savvy to get set up and get started. Okay. I know I hear people who have told me time and time again, this is a copy and paste from multiple conversations I've had. I'd love to start, but I have no idea how to build a website, design a label, or set up payments, which people somehow think this is the most important part of business. And I will tell you that these are all details compared to the stuff that actually matters and it takes any effort. Like, let's put it this way. These are the details that fall into place once we figure out what it is we're selling and what the system is. Okay? So if this sort of woe sounds familiar to you, where you're just not quite sure, well, just know that so many amazing ideas never make it off the ground because the person behind them thinks that they need to learn how to code or hire a dev team or become a software wizard before they can launch. Yeah, but the truth is, the tools and support available today mean that you can get moving with very little technical skill if you know what matters and what to ignore. Okay, so you probably, if you are stuck in this type of mistake, you spend weeks comparing platforms, watching YouTube tutorials, trying to pick the perfect app, but never actually launching anything. That is not a tech issue. Let's be clear, that is an overwhelm disguised as productivity. Honestly, most tech is drag and drop nowadays. From product labels to pitch decks to pop-up shops, modern tools are made for non-techies. Like, you don't have to be good at this stuff. You're not launching a Silicon Valley startup, right? You're setting up a simple system to share your offer and take payments. That's it. We can literally do this for under $100 a month right now. So what's actually worth your time, right? Instead of mastering tools you'll never use, here's what we need to focus on. We need to understand what your customer wants. We need to learn how to write clear, simple copy. We need to set up one link that leads directly to an offer. And these skills basically make all the tech work for you instead of it working the other way around, right? So don't be scared. Plenty of founders build profitable businesses by hiring a freelancer, trading services, or using templates made by someone else. I could be your someone else. I have so many templates for you. Your job is not to figure it all out when you are trying to make sales and make money. Your job is to decide what's essential and to move forward. Don't let any tech stop you. If you've got an idea and a willingness to learn just enough to get it into the world, you're already further ahead than most. And once you make your first sale, the confidence you build makes the next step easier, and then the one after that even easier too. It's so cool. So let's move into mistake number 3, which is feeling unprepared to start because you think you need to spend more than $20K in your first year. Again, I've already said this. I just love to say it over and over. Most of the time you only need like $100 to get started on the type of sales I'm trying to tell you about. So I want to mention that not only do you not need to spend more than $20K in your first year to cover both your living and business expenses, but you do kind of need to spend some time. So here's what I mean by this, because you might be like, Marina, business or living expenses is going to cost me more than $20K. I'm going to tell you that right now. And then whatever other business technology bills on top of that. So what do you mean it's not going to cost me things? Here's what I mean. Time is something that you can legitimately crunch because that is what costs people the most amount of money. They spend the first 6 to 12 months in business kind of roaming around trying to figure out what makes sense for them. And if you're getting started now while you're still actively employed or while you still actively have connections, then you're already steps ahead. Let's say you're not and you're like, bro, I jumped into the deep end. I got nothing but time right now. Okay, I want you to focus and get through this and really be sure how you're spending your time. Make sure you are not scrolling on social media, first and foremost, because time is the most important thing you need, not money to get started, right? Because your idea will only be taken seriously based on how cooked up that idea is, right? So you want to make sure that you put as much detail in there as possible, right? So the belief that unless you spend all this money, like it's not going to work, that belief is what often leads to overspending on things that you don't need. I've seen this happen so often. In fact, I know of someone who had spent over $10,000 on a service that they didn't even need, and once it was completed, they were so upset that they ended up just redoing it all themselves. And actually, as I'm telling this story, there's like 3 or 4 different clients that I've heard this from, of mistakes they've made in the past with trusting the wrong person or putting so much into something because of anxiety. They were like, well, if I throw money at this problem, it'll solve things. But that's just simply not the case, because the truth is that most people in their first year don't have a money problem. They have a focus problem. We're trained to think in these storefront numbers, right? But when you Google how to start a business, it assumes that you're opening a brick and mortar or going all in on a product line. If you're building a branding agency, or if you need a branding agency, that's $5K. You need a designer, that's another $2K. Inventory, at least $8K. Website, at least $3K. But what if you didn't need any of that up front? Learning how to test offers, have sales conversations, build relationships, and refine your positioning is where real traction comes from. None of that requires a massive upfront spend. It requires effort, not excess. So you want to start small, sell early, and grow on purpose. You can seriously begin with a simple Google form or simple checkout page. I use Notion, happy to show you how. A free email tool. Again, I use Gmail. I think most of us do in the world. A few Canva-made graphics. There's a free version of Canva if you don't want to pay the less than $20 a month. And then a focused offer that people can say yes to today. And we have plenty of offers that what they cost us is our time, which is expensive, but technology-wise or like physical product-wise, it doesn't cost us anything. Or if anything, a few pennies or a few dollars per month, right? So again, normally the cost for a lot of our products is under $100 minus our time and labor or expertise. I'm talking about the business technology that you're actually buying to make your business go. Because if you know how to sell whatever your offer is, you can reinvest those profits to grow without taking on debt or draining your savings. And again, what if what I'm just talking about for those kava tenders, those bartenders out there who are just like, people just ask me for recommendations. How does this apply to me? What do you mean I need all these things? I already said I don't want to start a business. That's what I'm saying though. Like that's what I'm saying, girl. Like that's, you own, like for less than $100, you don't need all of these systems. You don't need all these things. We can literally get you set up to be making side money that is meaningful and impactful without having to invest, right? The scrappier you start, the more you actually pay attention to what works. So you end up adapting faster, you listen better, you stay connected to your customer, and most importantly, you don't need to make 10K just to break even. Like you're already ahead right when you start. So instead of just looking successful out the game, like out the gate, aim to be sustainable from day one. This is what we specialize in here. You can always upgrade your systems, your design, and your production later, but right now your job is to test, tweak, and get traction. That costs time, not tens of thousands of dollars. So this brings me to our final mistake, which is spending so much time on networking without having really anything substantial to talk about. You don't need to be talking to people. Like you don't, man, people overestimate the importance of talking to all these people all the time. You don't need a big network to start. You just need to start and not be afraid to be your beautiful and natural self. You might be thinking, I love the idea, but I don't have connections, an audience, or a network who would even buy from me. This is one of the most common limiting beliefs for first-time founders and one of the most untrue. You don't need thousands of followers or a stacked Rolodex to begin. You just need a willingness to show up as you are, speak from your heart, and start where your feet are. We see successful brands after the traction hits, after the collabs, the shout-outs, the launches. What we don't see is the beginning. The late nights, the DM convos, the first 5 people who said yes. Everybody starts small. The first customers often come from a friend of a friend, a neighbor who's curious, someone you met at an event, a post on your personal Facebook or Instagram page. Don't underestimate how powerful one genuine conversation can be. Because people don't buy perfect, especially not anymore. They buy real. So when you show up as your natural self, sharing your journey, what you believe in, and what you're building, it creates resonance, and that energy spreads. You'll be shocked how many people are quietly rooting for you, just waiting for the chance to support. Your brand, your offer, your presence can be the reason someone feels like they belong. Your vulnerability, it builds bridges. Your values attract others with shared vision. Your courage gives them the permission to follow their own. You don't need to know everyone, okay? You just need to start talking to someone. Action builds momentum. One DM, one sample, one invite can turn into a ripple effect that you never saw coming. You don't need a list. You just need a voice. You don't need a network. You need nerve. If you can be bold enough to show up as your full, unfiltered self at the beginning, the right people will find you. And they'll definitely stick around because of your heart, not because of your hype. This is huge. Because the real secret is that success in the non-alc space doesn't come from money, followers, or perfection. It comes from showing up, selling smart, and staying true to your voice. When you overcome these, you can absolutely make life-changing money in the non-alcoholic industry, and you don't even have to conform to someone else's lifestyle preferences to make it happen. The rise of non-alc is here. People are looking for people to trust. If you can find your niche, people will become loyal. Meet the unmet demand. It's huge, huge market right now. Again, there are so many new products popping onto the market every day, and it's getting to the point where people don't know who to trust. Even bottle shop owners are overwhelmed. People who have been doing this professionally for years are overwhelmed. They need help sorting through these thousands and thousands of SKUs. You have no idea how needed you truly are. Seriously, I'm ready to hire you because we have so many clients who need help with this. All you need is the right roadmap to get there. The crazy part is that you're already doing the work, right? Like you're already here, you're already listening, you've been drawn to this. That means there's stuff you're doing in your career that's already set you up and primed you for this. So we're going to make it more impactful and profitable now, okay? So I need to ask you, do you believe that you can actually do this? Do you believe that you can actually make a life-changing amount of money doing what you love? This is huge. So I want to tell you, welcome to the Drink Money Method. This is the only system that you need to master the art of sales in the non-alc industry. Okay, so the Drink Money Method talks about a variety of things, right? So we start first by talking about the psychology of sales. Then we talk about all the different types of sales that exist. There's in-person, there's B2B, which is business to business. There's B2C, which is business directly to consumer. And then also we want to talk about future-proofing whichever income feels right for you. So the method here has these 5 main steps. And the thing is, again, we have to talk about all the different types of sales because if we don't know where you fit in or what you specifically should be doing. And by should, I mean what makes most sense based on what you're passionate about and what your skill set is, what your hours are, and quite frankly, like, you know, what makes you happy, what kind of legacy you want to leave behind, okay? So we're going to start with that psychological basis, talk about all the fun things. We're going to learn about what's possible in sales. We'll do some sales training, and then after that, you'll know which sales opportunities excite you most. So basically, the Drink Money Method takes you through this whole process of what it all is, how you do it, how you make money, figure out what makes sense, and then we'll double down our efforts and build out our systems to support whichever methods excite you the most. So let's kind of talk through each of those phases. The main problem in phase 1 is that most people who try to sell non-alcoholic beverages, they do so the same way that they sell soda or alcohol without understanding the emotional, cultural, and identity-based relations and reasons that people choose non-alc in the first place. They also focus too much on product features, flavors, ingredients, and not enough on what actually moves people to buy. Right? People buy from their heart, not from their brain. And what this leads to is confused messaging, low conversions, a disconnect between the product and the customer's deeper why. So the solution here is that this module inside of our Drink Money method teaches you how to understand the psychology behind non-alc purchasing decisions, whether your customer is sober curious, health focused, community driven, or functional ingredient obsessed. So you're going to learn the 5 core buyer types in the non-alc space and how to speak to each of them, how to match product features to emotional benefits that actually sell, what questions to ask to know your customer better than they know themselves, and how to position your offer so it leads with clarity and confidence. This phase sets the foundation before you can sell anything, because you have to understand what people are really looking for and how your product fits inside of their story, not the other way around, right? Now, phase 2, we're going to master those in-person sales. So we're going to talk about bars, shops, and events. The problem is that most team members and founders freeze up during in-person interactions, or worse, they default to being overly casual, overly technical, or overly passive. And this leads to missed opportunities, low average ticket sales, and conversions that end in, "I'll think about it," instead of, "I'll take one." Even great bartenders or brand reps often don't know how to close a sale, especially when alcohol isn't part of the equation and there's no buzz factor to really rely on. I also want to mention that the FDA DSHEA guidelines are very specific in the way that you have to follow them, so a lot of people get scared because they don't know how to talk about it. So the solution is that this module transforms you or your team from server to seller by teaching a warm, confident sales approach that feels natural and not pushy. It's more like sorting through people and options to get them what they need. You're being a matchmaker. You're going to learn how to guide conversations that convert without relying on scripts or gimmicks, because that is uncomfortable. So you want to master how to read customer cues and respond with the right pitch at the right time, language swaps that increase buy-in without increasing pressure, storytelling and sampling strategies that boost connection and average order value, and how to sell upgrades, bundles, and return visits like second nature. Of course, though, we have to talk about the mindset shift from "can I take your order" to "how can I help you enjoy this more?" Those are 2 totally different customer experiences, right? By the end, you'll know exactly what to say, how to say it, and how to sell in person with ease, whether you're behind the bar, in a pop-up booth, or sampling at a bottle shop. Now, phase 3, we're going to talk about B2B sales, right? So this is the art of repping and wholesaling. The problem is that most founders approach wholesale with either too much desperation, "please carry my product," or too little clarity, "let me know if you're interested." Don't say that. That phrase kills all sales conversations. Side note. They don't understand what buyers are actually looking for, and they're not prepared to answer questions about margins, volume, compliance, or logistics. So as a result, great products get overlooked or underpriced, and relationships stall before they ever turn into actual revenue. The solution is that this module teaches you how to confidently pitch and close B2B sales, and those deals with shops, bars, lounges, wellness spaces, and more without compromising your boundaries, values, or pricing. So you're going to learn what decision makers actually want from a wholesale pitch. By the way, it's not just free samples. You will also learn how to price for wholesale without killing your margins. The 3 key elements of a wholesale sheet that gets a yes, how to become your own best sales rep or train someone else to be, and how to create follow-up systems that keep deals warm without being annoying, which, by the way, a lot of this has to do with leveraging aligned partnerships for brand awareness and steady orders, right? So we're going to talk about how we build all these systems together. Don't be scared about the tech, because honestly, okay, we add Notion into the equation, 1 person a month, 2 people a month, that's 20 a month, right? And then maybe a couple extra steps in there. We're still under 100 a month to take care of all of these pieces of the wholesale equation. Isn't this nuts? Like, you used to think that, I have to spend a lot of money to make money. But in this case, you kind of already have spent the money, right? Like, you're here because you love these beverages. There's something you know about them. There's something in there. Like, you've spent all of your time and money on this research. So let's go ahead and bring it out to the world. So by the end of this phase, you'll have a simple, repeatable B2B sales process that feels good, respects your time, and positions you as a trusted, in-demand brand. So again, if you want to be a consultant, for example, you want to be a coach, You want to learn how to be taken seriously as a professional by professionals? Happy to help. And then we also talk about phase 4, which is those B2C sales, different from the in-person sales because you can still do B2C online. This is like affiliate codes. This is like I'm posting content and sharing that content, and then people maybe use my code and I make money off it. There's a few other things here too. Maybe you're selling a product or a digital service booklet, service, whatever it might be, directly to people, not businesses. Again, that's what this is kind of all about, but we're specifically talking about how to do so without selling out. Most people think they have to go viral, become an influencer, or dance on camera daily to make online sales. Others try to build community but end up with an audience that doesn't convert. And when it comes to affiliate partnerships, many end up promoting brands they don't fully believe in or are earning barely enough to buy a latte. The result, content that feels exhausting, communities that don't buy, and brand deals that don't align. So the solution is that inside of our module in Drink Money on This, we show you how to create authentic content and community spaces that drive real sales, not just likes, and how to monetize through partnerships that genuinely reflect your values, right? So we want you to ensure that you are getting paid the kind of money that feels good to receive. So inside of this module, you'll learn how to build a values-aligned personal brand that sells without shouting, what types of content actually lead to purchases, and how to repurpose like a pro, how to grow a buying community, not just a following, and the difference between being an influencer, being a trusted recommender, right? There's a difference. There's a lot of terrible influencers out there. And that being said, I'll teach you how to land those affiliate or brand deals that match your vibe and make you money. And also we'll chat about ways to promote yourself and others with integrity and ease. So by the end of this phase, you'll have clear, aligned strategy for turning your voice and vibe into income without ever needing to sell out or becoming someone that you are not, right? We want to keep you feeling good and feeling fresh. So just to show you a quick little concept here, there's so many different types of income paths that we've been talking about. So I want to mention that there's going to be a different level of interaction with the public. So this is something to keep in mind as we're talking about these things. So again, you're learning through these modules, all these skills, whether you're going to use them or not. In terms of like revenue streams, I think all of the skills help each other personally. And I think it's very important to have a holistic view, which is why we show it to you. And then again, at the end, we look at this and we're like, okay, what level of contact do you want? Like, how much do you want to talk to people? How much do you want to be in person versus online? Do you want to travel? Do you want to be in one community? Like, once we nail this down and we figure out where you want to be, then we figure out exactly how we're going to make your money. Because again, what is the point in making money that doesn't make you feel good? This is supposed to be something that empowers all of the knowledge and the experience that you already have. So after we start to think about which opportunity feels exciting, we will future-proof that income. The problem is that too many founders build a job, not a business. So what it means is they get stuck in a role, bartender, rep, content creator, event host. And when life shifts or burnout creeps up, so then they can't work on things as actively, then the money stops coming in. And that's, again, that's a job, not a business. You own that job, but you want to own a business. You want to make money even if you can't show up to work for 3 weeks straight. You want to make money even if you need to take a maternity leave. You want to be able to make money even if you need to plan a cross-country move, or you want to take a 3-month backpacking trip through Europe, right? So the thing is, too many founders don't think about that long-term wealth aspect. They only think about those short-term sales. They don't make those systems, therefore they miss out on the chance to build income streams that work even when they don't. I've even seen this with our own clients. They get so hungry for certain things and so short-sighted that they're not focusing on what they need to do to make the sale now and then create a system that makes long-term sales. Sure, it might take a few extra minutes to put together a system that keeps the long term in mind because there are more details involved, but what do you get in return? So much, right? You get that security. So Inside of this module, we teach you how to shift from being the face of your business to building a system. So you're going to learn how to turn the roles that you've played, whether that's founder, mixologist, educator, or creator, we're going to turn that into a scalable income stream that supports you and your future. So you're going to learn how to productize your knowledge and experience so that you don't have to sell your time, you're just selling your knowledge, right? Whether you're putting those into ebooks or online courses. We'll also talk about what income streams make the most sense based on your skills and values. We'll talk about how to build licensing, affiliate, digital, or service-based models around your existing work. You'll learn smart delegation strategies to protect your time and why the goal isn't to grow fast, it's to grow free. So that means that we're going to talk about protecting and multiplying your revenue so that your career is built to last. It's not just a phase. So by the end of this phase, though, you will learn how to create a business that evolves with you so that you can keep growing, earning, and impacting the industry for years to come. So again, in your first few years, you should be making the least amount of money of your career, technically, because as you scale and systemize, it'll only take you 5 hours to make the same amount of money that it used to take you 40 over time because of the things that you're building, right? So again, I don't want to take too much time here, but there are 2 links. You can go ahead and take a look at our case studies and our testimonials. You can learn more about the people that we've worked with. Go ahead and pop through there. But if you can take away one thing, I want you to know that you can create more income without opening your own bar, without investing $20K right off the bat, without needing to show up every day on social media, without prior entrepreneurial experience, and without needing to quit your bartending job if you don't want to, because we're teaching you how to also make more tips too. So the big question is, how can you apply this framework to your own life and make more money doing what you're already doing? The answer to what's your favorite drink deserves a price tag when it's your career. Don't undercut yourself. Okay? This is different than asking some random person, a bank teller, what's your favorite drink? Who cares? But I care about what a mixologist's favorite drink is, because they know. They've had the good, the bad, and the ugly. So remember, chaos or clarity. And hopefully you'll be able to see at this point, chaos meaning, the whole F around and find out. And clarity meaning you're going forward with systems and you're focusing on what matters instead of wasting your time on things that don't, or getting offended by the no's, not understanding how to interpret that data, right? We want to make sure that we are excited and we're revved up by every piece of data that comes our way. You just have to make the choice. It's time for you to stop hoping for more income and start creating it by cashing in on the work and knowledge that you have already done. It's time for you to follow a method that takes the guesswork out of sales in the non-alc space. Okay? So I'm very excited because we have just opened up enrollment for Drink Money. Again, this is our official course, How to Make Bank in Sales as a kava tender, sales rep, influencer, or affiliate in the non-alc industry. So excited. If you feel like you've already gotten the value that you needed in this little workshop, feel free to hop off. But if you want to learn more about what it's like to work with me, I'm going to break it down for you, what you'd get access to, and I'll give you a whole bird's eye view of this program. So here is, let's get started with the method, right? So again, all the modules we already kind of talked about through the phases, but I will say that you do get instant access to some pre-work. So you will get lifetime access to our sales workbook and course notes packet. So that's super exciting. You'll also learn about the habits of our most successful clients, and we will bust some common myths. Then you will get through some of these modules. Again, we already talked about these. The 5 types of buyers. We're going to match product to emotional benefits, questions to ask customers, positioning offers, the psychology of sales. The second one being all about mastering those in-person sales at bars, bottle shops, and events. Phase 3 being, again, those aligned B2B sales, so the art of repping and wholesaling. How do we price? What are the key elements to a wholesale sell sheet that works? What are the systems? What is the tech? And how do we leverage partnerships to make it work? And lastly, I just keep having the word name here. I'm human. This is not an AI presentation. And phase 4, of course, we talk about B2C sales. So again, what types of content actually make money and not just likes, right? This is not a like factory. We're trying to fund your lifestyle, and we're also trying to get the good word out about all the good drinks. So we're going to chat about that. And then in phase 5, again, turning that knowledge into a product or service, outsourcing your brain so that you don't need to be present, because we don't want to build you a job, we want to build you a business. So how do we make sure everything that you're doing is as scalable as you want it to be? If you love one-on-one work like I do, we still have some one-on-one clients, but we limit it. We only allow ourselves to have 5 retainer clients at a time. Right now we are fully booked as of the recording of this, so we actually don't accept any more one-on-one work. We put everybody into our scalable solutions because it's the only way that we can help people. We are maxed out on our current time because we're really excited in the projects that we're currently in, and we want you to feel the same way. So we're not capped on our money making potential. In fact, we can make a very limitless amount of money with the way that we've set up our business. We want to help you do the same, right? Okay. Bonus access, you will be getting some training in order to learn how to train others, how to join your sales team and scale your efforts, because everything is so much more fun when you have an aligned team that's here to help. And you're naturally going to attract people who want to do that, right? You're also going to get so many tech tips from me. It's going to be bonkers. And honestly, we have a whole other program called Effortless Operations that like builds out the entirety of like bar and bottle shop infrastructures, but I'll be helping you see like, okay, you don't need that big of a situation for what you're doing, but what would make sense for you, like a scaled down version. So I can give you some tips and tricks on that. You can also ask me questions, which is pretty cool, but we'll get to that in a minute. Hold on, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk about the support. So there is a private community. So there is a group, and there is where we will be posting about exclusive opportunities for sales, but also you can chat with people inside, and you never know what could happen, what other people are in the group who you can learn from, or you can sell to, or buy something from that you never even heard of. You never even know, right? So much can happen in there. We're also doing monthly sales workshops. So sales is a skill that takes time to master. There's no crash course that's going to get you amazing overnight. So we do meet monthly to dive even deeper beyond everything that I already mentioned, right? So again, there is a downloadable PDF guide that will have the entire course at your fingertips, that you will have that PDF guide for a lifetime access. The Drink Money program itself is 6 months. We'll talk about those details in a moment. So real quick though, I want to mention like this is a huge value. Between the curriculum, the lifetime PDF guide, the 6 monthly live workshops, and the private group environment with those sales leads, this is just about a $5,000 offer. We are so excited to be offering it for significantly less than that. Like, we're not charging you $1,000 for this, okay? Like, less than that. So you can enroll by clicking these links here, typing this into your browser, marinamars.com/challenge-page/drinkmoney. Being able to expand your income is worth way more than this, though, okay? However, we want joining the program to feel exciting, but also a bit stretchy. And in the future, we may be charging $2,000 for this program because it is juicy and you're going to make more than $2,000 easy on this, right? But I want you to join us feeling on fire, excited, and like this is a no-brainer decision. So currently, as of the recording of this video, we are doing founding member enrollment, and we are offering that as a thank you for taking the time to be here today with me today, and signing up for this training. So this isn't going to be available forever. Again, click that link, take a look at the price, because they're never going to get lower. It only increases. So to make this a serious no-brainer though, I wanted to add in a few additional bonuses to make this really lovely. Again, I'm including top tips for making tips, so decades worth of advice in one convenient package. I bought my first house, and when I did that, I had all cash in a shoebox of money I'd saved for my down payment from tips. Like, I bought a house from tips, you guys. So You can do the same. And I did that in my 20s. When I was single, I didn't have my parents to help me buy this house. There was no co-signers. Like, I literally, off of making tips, was able to buy a house. And you can too. So that's what this is all about in this section here. And also, so many workshops are going to be about that because we can all learn how to make more tips. And also, I am going to be unlocking a free one-on-one call. Once you complete the curriculum, I am not going to have you waste your time by asking me questions that are already recorded, because that seems silly, doesn't it? I want you to get the most out of all the things. So the question isn't about whether you're going to make your money back, it's how many times you're going to be able to do so. Like, how much is one client going to be worth for you? For example, if you have one wholesale client, you get 10% of their earnings, and then they order $5,000 per month. That's $500. Like, that's a car payment right there. Like, that's crazy, right? And that's one client. So trust me and think about this. How many clients can you book in the next 6 months with all of these figures in mind? And just as like an example, if you just started today by paying $197, just as an example, because there's multiple options, I'm not saying that's what it's going to be today, but if you did to start, you could be opening up the space to be making thousands in the future. That is less than $7 a day, and as of this recording, unfortunately, Starbucks is no longer less than $5 for a cup of coffee, right? This is where we're at. Welcome to inflation world. But that is literally, instead of buying a coffee a day, you could be teaching yourself this extreme skill of sales that teaches you how to make this back and so much more. Whether you realize it or not, you've already paid the price for being where you are. Every day that passes that you haven't started cashing in on the work you're already doing, you're leaving thousands of dollars on the table, and you're never going to get that back. Isn't it time to take control of your situation and master the art of sales in this industry? With systems, with methods, with precision, and with confidence. So again, go ahead and take a look at the enrollment page. There's so much more information on Drink Money in here. You can take a look at our case studies and testimonials as well by heading over to our website. Honestly, just poke around. So for example, if I go ahead and click case studies and my website loads, you'll see we've got some case studies here. If you just hover over the modern mocktail here at the top, taking a second to load because of my recording, then there will be a little drop down. And it's going to show you, here we go, we've got free guides and templates, we've got our case studies, we've got upcoming events, we've got our course and program portal. That's where you learn more about and enter the Drink Money program. And then these are the client groups, hence where you would meet for your groups. So you can learn all of that information. Again, if you want to learn more about me, about us here at the Modern Mocktail, you can click About and learn more, press and awards, all of the fun things. Only reason I'm showing you this is because, again, this is a super fun page that this video is at the top of. All of these links are clickable. Go ahead and scroll through, and just do know that if you are in our program for 7 days, and this is 7 days not during pre-sales, but like 7 days of actively being in all of the material, and you have consumed all of the material, and you have done the action items and things still aren't happening, we do have the money back guarantee. This requires responsibility, finishing things, and communicating with me though, okay? So very important. I always like to throw that out there because the program works as hard as you do. So thank you so much for being here with me today. I am so thankful for all of the time, effort, and energy. And I know that if you are here, you already have something super special inside of you. And there is something that you have to say and share with others. And so this is the tool to help you do so and to be able to be paid to do it. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything at all, do not hesitate to send me an email, hello@marinamars.com, and I will be there to help you figure it all out.